Okay, good evening. My name is Renee Powell with Oklahoma Family Network, and this is our March Toolbox Tuesday. And we are so excited to have Sarah Soell from the Down Syndrome Association of Central Oklahoma, or DASCO. And I'm going to read a little bit about Sarah, just so you can get to know her a little better. Sarah Soell is the Executive Director of the Down Syndrome Association of Central Oklahoma. She's been a member of DASCO since 2006. As a parent of child with Down syndrome, she has volunteered with the organization in numerous activities, having served on the Festival and 5K committee, serving as co-chair for 2 years. Prior to accepting the role as executive director, she was the president of the board for DASCO. Before joining DASCO as the executive director, she also worked for the University of Oklahoma as the associate vice president for public affairs for 17 years, where she coordinated numerous events and projects, advertising, and other media-related activities. Her past job experiences include working for the University of Houston, the Oklahoma Beef Industry Council, and the Oklahoma State University. A graduate of Oklahoma State University, she earned her bachelor's degree in hotel management and her master's degree in hospitality administration with a specialization in meeting planning. She is involved in various other organizations, including serving as a sustaining member of the Junior League of Norman, where she served on the board for 2 years and serves as the vice president of the Cleveland County 4-H Foundation. She and her husband, Preston, along with their 3 children, reside in Norman, where they are members of the First Christian Church. Sarah was a member of the 2003 Leadership Norman class and was selected as the Oklahoma Magazine 40 Under 40 as a finalist, in April 2008. She was a finalist for the K4 News Channel 4 Remarkable Women's Finalist list in 2020. She is a tireless advocate for the Down syndrome community. She advocates daily for the needs of family and for each self-advocate. She ensures DASCO's fundraisers, programs, and activities all align with their mission to ensure the success of the organization. Under her leadership, DASCO serves more than 1,000 families, has increased fundraising efforts by more than 50%, and has made an impact on the community, elevating DASCO's status and visibility. Sarah never turns down a hug and will always ensure individuals with Down syndrome are accepted, respected, included, and given the opportunity and choice to create their own meaningful pathway to success. And with that, I am going to hand it over to Sarah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. And as we are going through when I'm talking about the Down Syndrome Association, just if you have a question, put it in the chat or just speak out loud and I'll stop and we can visit about that. But this is our staff. I'll kind of get to all of them here in a minute, but our mission is to raise awareness and provide resources as well as promote acceptance and inclusion for people with Down syndrome. There's myself, and we have Rachel. She's our fundraising and marketing manager. Riley's our program coordinator. Kathy's our office assistant, and Robin coordinates our self-advocacy center. And then we have 2 AmeriCorps members, Abby McGuire, who works on our programs, Adeline Soell, and she does our social media and marketing information. And then we have 2 self-advocates, Heather Hancock Blackburn and Hannah Caper. Just this past year, DASCO's won some pretty significant awards. And, we like to talk about us, setting a national standard. And I do think we are doing that here in Oklahoma. But this past year, the National Down Syndrome Congress awarded us as the Affiliate of the Year. And Heather was awarded the Christian Puchel Memorial Citizen Award. And then just this past February, the Down Syndrome Affiliates in Action awarded us the Guiding Leadership Award. And this is just a little bit about us. You can scan that QR code. It'll take you to our website. But like Renee mentioned, we serve about 1,000 families in the central Oklahoma area. So our coverage is basically everything in the middle of Oklahoma and then out west into the Panhandle. So we have quite a large coverage. There is an affiliate organization in Tulsa, the Down Syndrome Association of Tulsa, and we work really closely with that organization on a variety of projects and services and resources. But we feel that we should be empowering individuals and educating families and enhancing our communities. So some of you may not know what Down syndrome is, but it is a genetic condition that results in a third copy of the 21st chromosome. But we like to say that Down syndrome is the innate ability to see the good and beauty in the world, to radiate joy and happiness, and offer a unique perspective on life with the ability to change others' perceptions. And I know that's exactly what my daughter has done for me, and all the self-advocates that we serve always have a huge impact on my heart. We like to talk about inclusion a lot, meaning included in the classroom, included in work, included in every aspect of life. So whether that's in the workforce or, like I mentioned, in the classroom, that's what it's about. And I always remind people what the definition of inclusion is, but it's the act or state of including or being included with a group or structure. So this is what Down syndrome looks like on a karyotype test. That third copy of the 21st chromosome is circled down there below. But it's a result of an individual having 47 chromosomes in each cell instead of the usual 46. It is a genetic disorder. There's about 1 in 772 babies, or about 51 individuals born with Down syndrome a year. It is the most frequently occurring chromosomal condition a person can have. And there are actually 3 types of Down syndrome: trisomy 21, translocation, meaning that both parents had a translocation gene that translocated on each other, and mosaicism. So you might ask, well, what's the difference between trisomy 21 and mosaicism? So trisomy 21 means that either the egg or the sperm had the extra chromosome. Mosaicism actually happened after conception, when the cell division process takes place and an extra chromosome is actually formed in that process. Still, Down syndrome still means the same, has no implications on whether it's a different severity. We don't like to say that. It's just Down syndrome. So what do we really expect? Well, like I mentioned, it's the most common chromosomal abnormality in humans. There are physical growth delays. We consider it a mild to moderate intellectual disability. There are physical characteristics and facial features with Down syndrome. We can see it. We know when we see somebody with Down syndrome. There are special therapists to help with speech and fine gross motor skills, as well as ABA therapy and many other types of resources to help our loved ones become successful. But to us, it doesn't matter. Individuals with Down syndrome want to be treated the same. They have the same likes and dislikes as you and I. They want jobs. They want to get married. They want to do all the activities. They want to be involved. They want to be engaged. They want to be with their peers. They want to have the same opportunities as you and I. And why shouldn't they? And we know with the supports being given to them in early intervention, they can and they do. And that's what's so exciting. I just kind of like to pause here. These are some of our, cute little faces, and those that have impacted, my life and continue. And I just think they're the most beautiful people in the world. I'll stop right here to see if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, I'll just keep going. Okay. So here are just some facts about Down syndrome. A lot of people don't realize some of the health implications, so I'll kind of discuss some of those. But as adults with Down syndrome grow, there's an increased risk of them with mental health disorders like depression, anxiety, OCD, and behavioral disturbances. And those actually, do increase as they age. It's that aging process where these start to kick in. And I notice these a lot in the adults that have finished school. And I think depression, this is just my personal opinion, there's no research to back it up, but when our kids get out of a routine setting, school being one of those routines, and they're not seeing peers and they don't have interaction, they do get depressed. and depression leads to obesity, and then that can also lead to some behavioral disturbances. So we see that in a lot in our adults as they age, because they're just not aware of the opportunities. So we think keeping them engaged and with jobs or other activities is very imperative after school. So they also experience an accelerated aging, so that in their 40s and 50s, they'll get certain conditions that you commonly would see in the elderly population, cataracts, things like anxiety increases, not just depression, Alzheimer's disease. I think there might be a slide that talks about this, but I'll mention it. More than 90% of individuals with Down syndrome after the age of 40 will develop Alzheimer's or dementia. So that's a reality for us, where we are very well aware of that. And there are actually some clinical studies being done right now to, yeah, that picture is worth a million words, isn't it? To help us figure that out. And we feel that Down syndrome is going to cure Alzheimer's disease. So, well, there we go. This goes on to talk about Alzheimer's disease as they grow older. It's just one of those things we're trying to plan for, but we do know that there are some things in place for us to look for markers to have these things checked. The Global Down Syndrome Foundation is doing a lot of research with NIH right now to look at the plaque built up on the brain. And they're actually going to start recommending that age 30, our children and adults get a CT scan to see where that plaque built up is starting, in order to have a progressive treatment so that they may not be at a higher risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. Just like with us, there are no two people with Down syndrome who are exactly alike. They all don't act the same, and they definitely don't have the same likes. So we don't like to say it's high functioning or low functioning in people. They're just Down syndrome. They just have Down syndrome. That's the only thing that they are, and that doesn't define who they are. One doctor explained it to me one time that if you took a bell curve, and then at the end of the bell curve, you did another bell curve, you could say that's where people with Down syndrome are, and we're all somewhere on the bell curve. While behavior, mental ability, and physical development varies, just from person to person, we know that our individuals with Down syndrome can grow up to hold jobs and live independently and really have a normal life. And as one parent said to me, we're not always about wanting our kids to be the shining star and the top of everything. We just want to blend in. That's really it. We just want to fit in and blend in, and sometimes really not be noticed. And I think that's what's really most important about being a parent of a loved one with Down syndrome. I just want my daughter to be treated as the same as everyone else. Like I mentioned, we do know that they go to college, they get married, they're working competitively in jobs. But we know that having those supports from family and friends is really essential for them to lead fulfilling lives. And I know that just with many in our community, we push our kids. We have high expectations because we do want them to be successful. I just kind of like to go over this because many times, especially with new parents, they don't know how to say certain things. And this isn't necessarily to be offensive, but to people with a disability, it is. So we always say, this is what you should say. It's a person with a disability, a child with a disability, people with disability. So if you notice, the person is always stated first and not the disability first. She uses a wheelchair. He has a learning disability. He has Down syndrome. I hear a lot like, oh, there's a Downs kid. No, they're not Downs. They have Down syndrome. She has autism. And this is really kind of words, not to say. the handicapped, the disabled, the special needs child, especially the R word. We don't find that anywhere acceptable. And then the Downs, or he's Downs, she's autistic. So if you kind of notice the transition there between the person first and then the disability on this as first. So just to kind of talk through some common conditions with Down syndrome, because many parents that I speak to first, and sometimes health providers, don't really understand all the different health conditions that a loved one might face. Statistics show that 50% of individuals with Down syndrome have heart defects. I think this is higher because almost every new parent, new baby we receive has some kind of heart defect and has had an open heart surgery. My daughter had open heart surgery when she was 3 months old. That is really not anything you can ever prepare a parent for, but to just hold their hand and be with them through the process. Vision problems are prevalent, more than 50% there. And I want you to look at that hearing loss percentage, 74%. And that's a lot contributed to eustachian tube dysfunction, meaning their tubes just don't fall down. That fluid stays caught up in there. And that leads to a lot of speech impediments and speech disorders that our children face. But I think my daughter's had more than 20 sets of ear tubes, and she's 18. So that's just part of the process. And I do tell a lot of parents, prepare for these surgeries. We call them little surgeries because I feel like open heart surgery is pretty major. But yeah, hearing loss, that's a big one. Infections are real prone to sinus infections. As an ENT once stated to me, he said, Sarah, Kirsten's plumbing just doesn't work like everybody else's. So you have this small stature frame and skeletal system for a person with Down syndrome, but packed inside that skeletal system are her organs. Well, her organs are not small like her statue. So they're still growing and still big. And so everything's just packed in this tiny little body. So that's why we have to remove adenoids and tonsils for breathing issues and sometimes tongue reductions and things like that. But they are more prone to infection because things just don't drain like they're supposed to. Hypothyroidism is also very common. And they've actually done a study recently for females that have gone through puberty who have hypothyroidism are developing celiac disease. So we know those are autoimmune diseases, but there is a study that has led to that. My daughter has hypothyroidism. She was diagnosed about the time she had gone through puberty, and now she has celiac disease. And celiac disease doesn't always possess itself like it would for somebody like me with a stomach pain or anything like that. Hers was not necessarily, digestive. It was more related to acid reflux in her esophagus. Another young girl who was diagnosed with celiac disease, she was having vagal response symptoms in her stomach. Not necessarily pain. It was like her stomach was having a seizure almost. So, and their blood work doesn't always signify celiac disease. That's why we have to do the biopsy. Blood disorders are common. Hypotonia, problems with the upper part of the spine. That's why we get the x-ray in the neck. Disruptive sleep patterns. I know several of our loved ones have done the Inspire for sleep apnea. So I think those are working great and helping with that. Gum disease and dental problems, that's kind of related a lot to the sleep patterns because our kids sleep with their mouths open, and that causes a lot of bacteria to be in there and causes some gum disease. Plus, they're not great brushers, so there's some sensory issues too around the mouth. I know with my daughter, her sensory issues tended to be around her mouth and facial area because she was on the ventilator for so long as a baby, and they say that they remember those things. Epilepsy, digestive problems. I talked a little bit about celiac disease, which is more prevalent in the females, and then just the mental health conditions and emotional distress that some of them that do face. So this is something that Wanda Felty has in one of her books, and I always like to talk about it because I think it's so important. And I think this is important, not just for people who have disabilities, but really kind of all of us. But the coordination of care is so important, and the focus is always on the person in the middle. And we know that if we have great sets of goals, and we can initiate those plans of actions, and we can continue to evaluate their progress and assess their strengths and challenges. And then outside of that, if they have family supports, or whether it's a group home support or day programs or healthcare providers or community services and resources and their employers, we know that's going to make them successful and reach their full potential. And this is really a whole team effort in their life. So here are some more cute faces from our events that we've had this past year. If any of you all have been to our festival and 5K, that is our largest awareness walk, and it's usually held in September. We have about 4,000 people that attend. If you would love to, we would love to have you come and join us. If you are a resource provider and you want to have a booth there, please come and see all of the smiling faces. We consider this like a big family reunion. And then we also have a fashion show. If you have been to that, then you have seen the tumbling acts and the push-ups on the runway and the cartwheels and just all the fun that the self-advocates have. That top corner, left corner photo is one of our self-advocates who's going to college at OU, and she aspires to be a roughneck, and they came and gave her her OU acceptance box along with Coach Switzer. So that was pretty great. And then down on the far bottom, we offer free tutoring. I'll get to all of our programs and services here in a minute. But one of the fun ways that our tutor gets them to learn their sight words is throwing darts at them. So that's really fun. And then there's Elena right there at our fashion show in the middle. Again, our kids really know how to strut their one way. And one of the things I'll talk about here in a minute is we have teamed up with the Autism Foundation, and we are hosting a communication conference again. I have those dates that I'll share, but it's July 15th and 16th again at Metro Tech. It's free. We're taking vendors to be a part of that. But Emily, Scott, and I from the Autism Foundation, we got together, and we know the challenges that are facing our loved ones in school, where a lot of times the behaviors are not a behavior, it's a communication error, and teachers and aides just don't understand the communication that's needed. And so instead they think it's a behavior issue. So we decided to host a conference to talk about these things and educate our teachers and aides and providers all in one room to share how our kids learn and what communication strategies are needed. So in our office, we do about 300 events, programs, and activities a year. We host parent and self-advocate workshops. We have parent-to-parent meetings. We do tutoring. We have a microwave air fryer class called Kylie's Kitchen. We offer occupational therapy services and camps in the summer. Those are just a few of our services, and that's little Rob right there cooking in the kitchen. We have a First Connections and New Parent program. Our First Connections is really to connect parents, existing parents that are in the same area or have the same hardships and activities. Their kids might be doing the same thing or same age. We try to pair them up with other parents just to give them some hope and relief and tell them that it's going to be okay. We give all of our new families one of those new parent bags as part of our First Connections. They get a book about Down syndrome. The Oklahoma City Quilt Club, they make quilts and put those in our bags for all of our new families. And it's just a bag of different resource material. So if you have some resources that I can share in there, I'd love, love, love to pass them along. And our babies are just so cute. So our enrichment center, this is part of our tutoring program, and we offer it free. It starts at age 3 and goes on up, and we focus on math, reading, handwriting, spelling, typing, really just anything that that individual needs an extra set of help on. And Miss Betty is amazing. She works one-on-one. She'll do group tutoring as well. It just depends whatever environment your child works best in. and it's been very successful. We are right now doing tutoring 3 days a week and once a month on a Saturday, and our sessions are all full. We offer a bunch of summer camps. We have our adult camp in the summer at Twin Cedars, or Make Promises Happen. That's for individuals 18 and above, and they just do adult things at camp. So they're focusing on their independency skills and being away from mom and dad for a little while. And then we host our basketball camp, which has become this. We've done it for 10 years now. There's Coach Jerry. He actually left us this year because he's going on to do bigger and better things. So we're getting a new coach, but I think he will be just as amazing. The kids love basketball camp. We usually have anywhere between 60 and 80 participants. We do divide the camp into like the younger group and then the older group because the adults didn't want to do camp with the young kids. And so we divide them up, and it's 2 hours of, playing basketball and you learning fundamentals and exercising and really getting to know how the game is played and having an understanding. And a lot of our kids do Special Olympics basketball, so we want to encourage that physical wellness activity. Kylie's Kitchen, I mentioned this. This is another program that's been around for 10 years now. It's microwave based, and we've added air fryers recently. And it's just, it's a lot of fun. If you want to come and volunteer, we have a great time in Kylie's Kitchen. We've cooked a full Thanksgiving meal in the microwave. We're getting really creative on those air fryer recipes. The participants get to take home a recipe and share with parents, and they have their or their caregiver, they have a notebook that they can keep them in. Some of them have their own even individual aprons that they wear, but this really is a great respite time for caregivers to drop off and leave. We do not encourage caregivers to stay. We want the self-advocate to have those independent skills and work one-on-one with a volunteer if they need to, but it's just a lot of fun. And they've become really good chefs, as I like to say. We have our parent-to-parent groups. We have our Dads Appreciating Down Syndrome. They just meet up and do fun things and talk about dad stuff like finances and safety issues and how to plan for the future. And they might be doing, something fun, but it's always tied back to, well, how do we make this for our kid, or how do we make this better for our wife, and so on. Our moms group is Moms on a Mission. And again, they meet up once a month, and just a break, just to do something fun. And we try not to talk about Down syndrome, but inevitably we always talk about our kids. But we also support our moms on a retreat. And that's been really great for the moms to just get away for a weekend. And we share a lot, we cry a lot, we hold each other up. So I'm glad we have our moms to lean on. And then we have our Latino group. So we try to shape some of our workshops and our parent meetings around our Latino group. And then we have an adult sibling group, which we know those adult siblings are going to be taking care of our loved ones, possibly someday, or at least in some capacity of oversight. So this is a group that gets together about quarterly to just share what are some challenges, what are you facing, what things do we need to know, and we just kind of go off of these parent-to-parent groups based on a need. So if the moms come and say, Sarah, we really need to know more about guardianship, then we'll create something and put those resources out there. This is a fun program that we've just added. I actually had a self-advocate come to me as she was part of the Self-Advocacy Center, and we were talking about seatbelt safety, I think, and just, what it's like to drive. And she said, Sarah, I would like to learn how to drive a vehicle. And I thought, why not? Why are we not teaching our loved ones at least it's safety in the car, or street safety, and what that means, because the schools aren't teaching them how to cross the street properly or what a pedestrian sign means. So we have paired up with the Cleveland County Sheriff's Department, as well as the Oklahoma City Sheriff's Department, and we have a program called Down with Driving, and they bring the simulator truck out and they display what it would be like if you're in a car wreck. They go through a process of if you're if your caregiver is being pulled over and what items that they ask for so that our kids aren't stressed out when they see an officer. And then we go through pedestrian safety, when to cross the street, when not to. Some of them get to drive the golf carts through Safety Town in Dorman. So we take a morning that's hopefully not hot and these officers talk about all the things involving pedestrian safety and car safety, especially, why we need to wear that seatbelt and what that means. And I know some of our loved ones like to take those seatbelts off, but after the kids go through this process, they realize the importance of all those things. And they're also learning directional signs and learning how to read the roadway signs. So I see this just really growing and gaining some great insight and independency skills for our kids. And moving into our self-advocates, we have our self-advocacy center, which some of you may have heard. This is our third year to have the center, and we have 5 to 7 participants in that program. And it's really about what are these individuals going to do after high school? So they finish their high school credits and they're kind of in a gap year and they might need some extra supports to get a job or go to college. So Robin, our coordinator, works with them on these issues or these 7 bullet points: health and wellness initiatives. How do I need to take care of myself and keep my body healthy? What things do I need to eat? What hygiene things do I need to work on? Many of our self-advocates kind of take a dive with their overall hygiene. And that also falls into some depression, and they quit taking care of their bodies. So we kind of reiterate that. And sometimes we see a lot of caregiver fatigue after high school. So this is where Robin gets to kick in and become, the other caregiver, as we like to say. She coaches with the parents to say, here's what we need to work on with this individual. But really, we're really getting down into those independency skills. What do we need to focus on? What do we need to mature in? How do I need to navigate my issues, maybe relating to some sensory things and coping skills? She has an entire curriculum on job readiness that she teaches, and social skills. That's another thing that declines after high school. And then how do I budget my money? We've actually partnered with Tinker Federal Credit Union, and they come out once a week, or every other week, and they are teaching our self-advocates about money and budgeting and really how to keep track of your bank account. And then Robin works with them on their resume building. At the beginning of the Self-Advocacy Center, we always ask them what their goal is. What do they want to attain? What do they hope out of the program? And that's really what we just focus on with each individual. And that's really why we only take 5 to 7 individuals, because it's very modified to each one. And then we try to do as many education and medical outreach that we can, talking to physicians, encouraging them and explaining to them how to give a diagnosis. And, please don't tell these new parents to terminate your child. That's not what we want to hear. We want to hear the words congratulations first. I think this month I'm speaking to about 15 different schools, because March 21st is World Down Syndrome Day. So we're trying to get the word out about Down syndrome. So we go and make sock puppets at the schools to talk about Down syndrome and what that means, and how to be kind and nice and respectful to your classmates. So those are a lot of fun, and it's great to talk about the disability and how we're all different, just like a sock puppet. And speaking of our World Down Syndrome Day, we have an education packet, and we're doing a coloring contest. All of that can be found in that QR code. We have sent this education packet out to all the educators across the state and all the county 4-H offices. So everybody's actively working, and there's a presentation in there. There's information about Down syndrome. There's little Quizlets in there. There's also some information to share with different age groups. So just a lot of great resources for educators. And there's even some, I think, a toolkit in there about how to modify curriculum. That is our, on the left there, that's our coloring contest sheet. So we ask everybody to color your page, and the schools are supposed to give us the top 3 winners, and they will receive a pair of socks. So with that, I'll say it's Happy World Down Syndrome Day. World Down Syndrome Day is March 21st. That's for the 3rd replication of the 21st chromosome, like I mentioned earlier. It's celebrated worldwide. We celebrate with socks because socks look like chromosomes, and it's a great way to just get the conversation started about Down syndrome. And then here's contact information if you'd like to get some more resources from us or volunteer with us, and of course, donate with us. You can scan those or just go to our website. It's dsaco.org. And then I always like to say, together we are building a brighter and more inclusive future where everyone can thrive. And thank you for being part of our journey. We have a golf tournament coming up if you'd like to be a part of that on May the 5th. It's lots of fun and a great way to celebrate our loved ones for sure. And I think that is it, but I'll leave back to this one. So does anybody have any questions?
There was a question in the, oh, can you guys hear me? There was a question in the chat.
Oh.
Is there a support group in Oklahoma for adults with Down syndrome who have Alzheimer's?
Not yet, but I actually had a sibling call me yesterday because her brother has Alzheimer's and he's 56. So I was giving her a handbook of information. We actually talked to someone today at the Alzheimer's Foundation. So I think we're going to start doing some support groups with them here in the near future. Does anybody else have any questions or comments, concerns, something I didn't touch on?
Are the camps that you do, are they provided at no cost to families and or self-advocates?
It depends on the camp. If I get a grant written for it, then yes, they're free. But if not, we do have to cover the costs for the therapists, and sometimes those costs are pretty expensive. But we never charge the full price. We always try to do a discounted price. But for any family member that, you know, can't pay that price, we just ask you give us a call. I can always work something out and provide some type of a scholarship assistance for that.
Thank you. I saw that you have an enrichment center. Is that at your home office, or is it are the activities done off-site?
They're done at our office. So that's
cool.
kind of something new that we're trying out this year, and there'll be more details posted about that. But it's going to be, right now it's just doing academic tutoring, but we're going to change that into other like social skills training and other independency skills. So we'll probably try to modify each enrichment opportunity for each kid to see where they're at. Kind of like a mini self-advocacy center is what we're doing to just get them where they need to be socially, independently, whatever the parent's goal is to enrich their lives.
No, this is all amazing. I'm very enamored by Kylie's Kitchen, the cooking class. Do you have, is there like a, I mean, because I think a lot of the things that you're talking about like would be super helpful to just anyone in general. And I was thinking, gosh, you have a cookbook or like a recipe book?
We've talked about doing a Kylie's Kitchen recipe book. Most of the recipe would probably be copyright because we just get them off the internet and then we just modify them per individual. But what we do is we have our interns, they take those recipes and modify them in visuals. So that's what's so great. So you can actually see the box of rice and what it looks like. versus just it saying rice. So we know our kids are visual learners. So we've just taken the recipes and just modified them to more of a visual process. And then for those that can't read yet, they can actually see the picture and they know what item they need to get yet. Kylie's is always evolving. So one of the things we're going to try new is using some more visual cups or measuring cups and things like that. So if someone can't read the half cup or 1 cup, sometimes those are hard to read. So we have to relabel them all the time. But we're going to move to a color coding system. So
cool.
everything that's a half a cup will be the color orange, or if it's a 1 cup, it's a blue. But that takes time and money. So we're trying to phase into it a little bit. We did modify so our kitchen holds 12 stations and everybody's paired up with a volunteer if they want one. Some of them are like, no, I got this. I don't need any help. I can do it on my own. And then they're in accessible drawers that they have all their utensils. But in addition to just the recipes, they have to check their drawers to make sure they have all the supplies. And then once they've done that, then they get the supplies out that they need for that particular item that they're mixing, stirring, or cooking, whatever. And then the great thing is, so it's a lot of organizational skills, math skills are going into that. And then, of course, reading, and then socialization. They got to talk to their volunteer. And then they have to clean up. So they're responsible for cleaning their own station, washing their dishes, putting everything away, and making sure everything goes back in the proper drawer. And it's just a lot of fun. They have to prep for the next class. We currently do it on Friday nights. That's really popular because that way moms and dads can go have a date, or a lot of our moms bring the kids together and they all go to dinner, or some moms drop off and go do grocery shopping while their kids at Kylie's Kitchen. So it really is a great respite program. And a lot of the kids tell their parents, don't come in. I got this. You do not need to walk me into the room. So, and they feel safe and secure there. And yeah, it's just a great program.
No, you're doing such amazing work. It's all so just all of the variety, the fashion show, the festival. I'm blown away by the work that you guys are doing. It's very exciting to hear that we have, so many, opportunities and resources for self-advocates and families in Oklahoma.
Well, my motto is, if you need something, then let's create it. I don't want anybody to feel left out or underserved. And I have this thing where I think we should always be doing more, but my staff are like, Sarah, can we just focus on what we're doing that's really good? So they have to reel me in sometimes, which is great. But yeah, I mean, as a parent, you always think, what more can I be doing? What more is there for her? What am I missing? Or because you just don't want to miss one opportunity or one minute that might, help that individual. So I get it. That's the main thing. I get it and I understand it. And I know where all these parents are coming from. I do have one other thing to share. This is Kirsten. Can you see her?
She's beautiful. Oh my goodness.
She is a senior this year. So she'll be graduating. And she'll finish her transition program at her school. But she is on the varsity cheer squad at Noble High School. And she is involved in 4-H and FFA. She shows sheep. She has 2 lambs. She takes care of them, from grooming them, washing them, bathing them, shearing them, drying them, to feeding them, to vaccinating them, and just making sure that they're taken care of. She has to load the trailer just like the rest of us and make sure that we have all the pans and the water and all the tack and all the grooming materials. So then she knows we get the animals ready first and the animals eat before she eats. So that's kind of the rule of our household. We have to take care of them first. And that's kind of been great for her. It's given her, more of a purpose, and it's just been a real eye-opening experience for me to see her just thrive and grow and basically tell me, I don't need your help, Mom. I got this. And it's hard work, I will say. So I know she can do it and she pushes herself, which makes me believe that every single one of the self-advocates we serve can do hard things, and they do hard things.
Thank you so much for, sharing about the work that you do, but also sharing about your daughter. And it's just very inspirational. Do you have anything else you'd like to share, or does anyone have any other questions? We are, I'm going to put up an evaluation slide, so that this is for Oklahoma Family Network. It's our training evaluation. I put it in the chat box, and I'm trying to figure out how to make this like full. Oh, there we go. But if you guys could, we would love your feedback. And that's pretty well what I have. And thank you so much, Sarah.
You're welcome.
For sharing your story and your work with DASCA. I'm going to hit stop. And no, okay. Oh, no, I don't want to stop share. I'm sorry. Stop recording.